If you take the breathalyzer here in Massachusetts, you will blow into the machine for the first test. There will be a calibration test, and then you'll blow into the machine again for a second test. And the lower of the two tests will be the result that's used against you at court. Now, the calibration test that takes place in between your two tests is done using a gas cylinder with 0.08% alcohol per volume. The police department gets this cylinder from the Office of Alcohol Testing, which is a division of the state police. So what happens is the breathalyzer that you're using will have to read this gas cylinder and produce a result or a reading of 0.074 to 0.086. It needs to be within that range for the breath test to pass calibration. Now, if it doesn't pass calibration, your breath test is no good. So they either need to redo it with a passing calibration, or they need to find another breathalyzer that's going to work properly and do the test with that breathalyzer. If you take the breath test, you're going to get a report, and it's going to show on the report the numbers from the calibration test. So obviously check the report and make sure that the calibration test was good. And also on that report, you're going to see that a very specific breathalyzer was used by the department that arrested you. And you can go online to the Office of Alcohol Testing, and you can look up that exact breathalyzer and see if that breathalyzer has failed calibration in the past, because the breathalyzers do fail calibration. Now, I recently had a case where my client took the breath test. The breath test passed calibration in that instance, but it had failed calibration 3 times in the prior year. So I had an expert who was ready to testify that a breathalyzer that fails calibration that frequently should not be used and it's unreliable. Now, the prosecutor said, well, I'll get my own expert to say the breath test was fine. And I said, go ahead, get your expert. And that prosecutor couldn't find an expert, or she was at least having trouble finding one, and ended up dismissing my client's OUI case. So you can win on this issue. You should be aware of it, and you should always check the calibration for the report related to your breath test, and go into the Office of Alcohol Testing and look up the history of the breathalyzer that you used to see how often it had failed calibration leading up to your test. I've written a blog post on this, and I'll put it in the description below.